Hello, welcome to another episode of the Pet Show. I'm your host Ashley, and with me is Natasha and Bethlehema.
Hi.
Today we're going to be talking about parenting in this modern time, and unfortunately our case study is a sad story. It's about the circulating story or video of a girl that is from Chrisland School. I think she attends Chrisland School, and what happened when her school went on an excursion or a competition in Dubai. And my first question will be, how did you guys feel when you heard this story, when you first read about it? How did you feel, Natasha?
Numb.
How did you feel?
Scared. Really scared.
I felt numb too. I felt numb. And at first, what I heard about was the rape situation. And, you know, especially when I heard that there's a video, I was like, why are people watching a video of a child being molested? And a few hours later, I came back online and started saying that, okay, it wasn't a rape situation. It was consensual among both of them. She knew what she was doing, blah, blah, blah. But still, the video was circulating. So before we talk about the video, in a situation like this, is obviously a child that, should I say, was badly raised. Who do you blame in this case, the parent or the school?
Both. Why would be how do you give your child a smartphone without doing the right thing of putting those control processes or patterns on the phone so that she's not able to access certain things and create accounts on certain social media platforms?
Yeah.
Also, on the part of the school, how were you so negligent that you did not know when a female student of yours got into the boys' room, what was she found doing there? Why were they together? Do you get what I mean? So for me, yeah, from both sides.
Who do you blame?
Both, but more on the parents, because a child who has proper training, even if presented with a wrong environment, will still do the right thing regardless of what everybody's doing. But
Yes.
the parents had failed her in a way, so she already had all this going on before school. It wasn't then that it began. That was just
Yeah.
an avenue for her to show what she can do.
Yes.
So the school as well, because like she said, they left them unsupervised for that long because, I mean,
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. The parents first, because, like I said, she was obviously badly raised. She has been exposed to things that she shouldn't have been exposed to at that age. I mean, at 13, what were you up to at 13? I remember what I was up to. I was busy dancing in choreography groups in school or in church, or just staying home and doing your homework. But with what we've seen, she obviously has social media accounts. She has been doing things that you shouldn't even talk about on TikTok. So she has been exposed to things that she shouldn't have been exposed to. So yeah, for me, I'll blame the parents first and the school. But the truth about this situation with the school is, with what I read, that they kept going around. Teachers took turns to go around and check, did their last call for the night to ensure that everyone is in their room. So they waited till everybody was sleeping before she snuck out, according to what I read. So I'm now like, okay, in this case, why, since the school knows that, okay, these are minors, we know kids get up to things. I mean, we're all teenagers once.
Mischievous.
Yes, and hotels like that would always have someone, a security guard, or someone is always awake. Are you telling me that?
CCTV cameras.
Yes, exactly. So are you telling me that nobody in the whole facility, knowing that there are children in their building, saw her climb up? Because I read that she was in the second floor, and the boys, they kept them in the 10th floor. So she went all the way up and nobody saw anything.
that must be some really nice
Yeah,
skill,
so
like,
it makes absolutely no sense. And that will bring me to my next question. We all went through excursion when we were in school. And I mean, my own school never took me outside the country. But I'm sure it has always been like that. Should excursion end? Like, is this something, considering what the world we live in now, apart from this kind of situation, even the danger of ritual killing, kidnapping of children and all that, is excursion something that should just be wiped out completely?
I think absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Why? Because I enjoyed my excursion days back in secondary school. I was a little mischievous, but not too mischievous. But excursions are needed. Exposure. You learn new things, you meet new people. For example, she went for a competition. She networked, obviously, with people from other schools, maybe even international students. It's good to network, even though you're a kid. You might not know network in that sense, but you're meeting people, you're getting numbers, you're interfacing, you're getting exposed. I think it should not stop, but there should be more
guidance.
surveillance and supervision on these kids and the processes involved?
If I'm not mistaken, Mercy Johnson's daughter went for the same competition or for
really?
some
Okay.
competition in March or thereabout, but her father went with her. So shouldn't it be
Authorized by
compulsory?
the school?
I think so, but he was with her 247. So shouldn't it be compulsory to, for one, I will not allow my child, I'm just putting it out there, I will not allow my child go for such if I can't or her dad can't go with her. So should it be normal for parents, I want you to answer that, should it be normal for parents to follow their children for excursion? Does it affect the impact the excursion is supposed to have on them?
In a way, it might affect it because that would just be overprotecting the child. And sometimes overprotection stops a child from learning certain things that they can only learn by indulging. So if you, for the whole excursion thing, if you say excursions should be ended, it just leaves a vacancy. The fact that there's no excursion doesn't mean that these kids or these people will not find other ways to express other negative things they want to do. So the problem is not excursions. The problem is the school and the parents. So I think that should be worked on, not excursions being removed.
Completely.
Because other ways will still come up for sure.
True. That's the gospel truth. Like if you try to cut the snake from, the tail, another thing will grow. It's just crazy. Like you remove social media, these children will find something else. Yes. But let's go back to the video for a minute. The video is going around like crazy. How do you feel about that? I mean, isn't this child pornography? Like, it's almost like the video is in our face. Yes, you can avoid it on Twitter, but you can imagine going through WhatsApp. You're going through people's status, and the next one, you don't know what is there, and it starts to play, and it's the girl's video. So, how do you feel about this video circulating?
I feel two ways about it. One, it shouldn't first of all have even been recorded. Unfortunately, it was.
It did, yeah.
Secondly, who was the first person to circulate it? I have no idea. I understand that if someone wanted to get back to her, like there was a chat like that, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I saw something like that on social media. I don't know who was the first.
They keep sharing.
I don't know who was the first person to upload this, but then other people started putting it out there. On one hand, I hate the fact that the video circulates, and unfortunately, whether you want to see it or not, you might just run into it.
Yes.
On the other hand, initially the parent came out to say it was a rape case. Yeah. And everybody was shouting down Chrisland, that school should be shut down. It should be no more. But now it's a totally different game. It's consensual.
Yeah.
So on one hand, it's negative that the video is going round. On the other hand, it made us have a clearer perspective on the situation.
Okay. You brought up the video, the mom's video, I would ask. She talked about how they took her for pregnancy test while lying to them that it's COVID test. So how do you feel about the school making such decision to take a minor for pregnancy test without the parents' consent?
I'd say it may have been impulse. They were trying to protect their image. It wasn't fair, of course. It wasn't right, but maybe they were just trying to do damage control for the damage that had been done, which was wrong. It goes against every right to take a child without the parents' consent for a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
Things that could do to a child, having to go through that at that time is really wrong. But I don't know. Maybe they were also trying to protect themselves because the mother said it was a rape case and it turns out that it wasn't. So they were just doing damage control.
And her mom also talked about how a teacher kept cursing the child in front of her schoolmates, calling her stupid, calling her useless, and all sorts of names. Did you ever experience that growing up, like your parents scolding you, or just any older person scolding you in front of people? Did that ever happen to you?
Let me think about that for a second. I think not really, but I remember a particular one that happened to me that maybe was called for. I was how old? Maybe 8 years old or so. I was like primary school or 7 years old. And then I was given 200 naira to take to school. I didn't know my mom said bring back change. So I went to school and I bawled with my friends and I came back. And she beat me up. I was calling me, you're a bad child. At your age, you can finish 200.
Do you have your own story? Did anything like that happen?
Well, using words was never how I was raised. My parents, my mom especially, was very careful with words. She would scold, but she was very careful with what she called you, so I didn't really experience.
Yeah, I think my mom and your mom probably belong in the same WhatsApp group. Till now, I struggle with saying the word stupid to anyone because I remember, I can never forget one day in secondary school. You go to boarding school and you pick up some bad habits, right?
Sure.
So I came back and I was arguing with my younger sister and I said, shut up. There's nothing wrong with shut up. The way my mom descended on me,
Yeah.
that we don't use those words in this house. I already know I can't say stupid, oh, you're foolish. I know I'll get into trouble for that, but I felt shut up is just, I'm just telling her to close her mouth. So my mom would never, but I think my dad was even more chilled than my mom. Like my dad would not even scold you in front of my mom. And I remember when I was coming back from church, it was getting too late. So I think my mom sent my dad out to come and look for me. And I was just by our compound talking to a guy, but it was already dark. And my dad just told me, let's go in. He didn't say a word. I was waiting for him to say something or do something. He said absolutely nothing. It took him over a week before he brought up that conversation, and nobody was with us. Till date, I don't think my mom will know about it now that she's watching this video, but I don't know if he said anything to her, but he did not correct me in front of her. He just waited for a few days to pass and told me how it's unsafe to be around a guy by that time of the night and all of that. My intentions might be pure, but someone else watching us will not know, blah, 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 good name and all of that. So I would say I'm lucky that my parents would never correct you, even in front of each other. They will just correct you privately. And I must say it has a way of boosting your self-esteem, because the truth is, shouting and scolding and beating doesn't always work. Like I was saying before we started, our generation, they flogged a lot of us. They were strict with a lot of us. I know someone that said her mom will always check when she comes back from boarding school if she's still a virgin. So she started doing anal sex. After all, that would still keep every other thing intact. So we know that scolding doesn't work. But where do you draw the line? Now people say, okay, this modern time, be friends with your child, be this, be that. But you see people saying they are friends with their child and they tell their child too much, or they show their child too much. For example, Toto's video that trended a few days ago where her child, her 5-year-old son, I think he's 5, was smacking her butt and she was laughing about it. I mean, she posted the video. That means she doesn't see anything wrong with it. So my question is, where do you draw the line between being strict and being friends with your child? We'll answer that question right after the break. Please stay tuned.
My name is Caroline Alfred, and I am your host.
I don't love nagging men.
I think if Ed Sheeran is not at my wedding, I may leave the wedding.
So if I'm meeting somebody, I would like that person to...
Every lady out there would like a level-headed man.
What does love mean to you? Spinsters and bachelors get to meet themselves on a blind date, get to know each other better, and get into relationships that would culminate into marriage eventually.
Welcome back. So the question I asked, where do you draw the line?
Okay, I think for me, growing up, I think maybe even the typical Nigerian we all had strict parents. My parents were really strict with me. I could never really go out to play, I would have to read. My face was always in books, but I loved to play. Woo, I loved to play. So we had that where they were really strict, and then they would never really explain certain things to me. I remember when I first had my period, and then I told my mom, "Oh, I'm seeing my period," and then my mom does the normal thing of, "If a boy touches you, you're gonna get pregnant." So I had that fear. I'm like, okay, no boys. But the funny thing is, they're girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but then I think for me as an aspiring parent, so to speak, I will be friends with my kids because I want you to be able to tell me anything. I want you to just be free with me, to gist with me, right? But I will also exert my authority as your mother. There are rules, there are regulations. You can't go outside of these. I'm not playing with you. Do you get what I mean? So I think there has to be a balance. I think as an adult now, with my parents, it's all chill. We can talk about a lot of things, maybe not some things,
Yes.
but we can talk about a whole lot of things. But I wish that growing up, I really had that connection where I could just freely say as I wanted to say and express myself as I wanted to, and then you could correct me in that line. So, basically I think there has to be a balance. You cannot be too much of a friend and then not a mother, and too much of a mother and then
Not a friend. What do you think?
I think what you said is very correct. There has to be a balance in everything. I think it's being extreme. That's always the problem. You can't be too much of this and too much of that. You just have to find your balance.
Yeah.
And then again, I'd say most parents operate from a place of fear. They instill fear in their kids. I think fear is understanding and respect is better than fear. Because when that fear is gone, there's nothing left to hold on to. So you tell your child, if a boy touches you, you get pregnant. And for some reason, she gets to a place where a boy touches her the first time, nothing happens. The second time, nothing happens, and the fear is gone. She'll definitely go ahead and do what she wants to do. But she has an understanding why she shouldn't do this, why it's not good for her to do this. I think it'll carry her longer. If she's met with people, she could actually debate that knowledge or that thing people are saying and give concrete evidence.
Yes.
So rather than just instill fear, be friends with your kids. Give them understanding why they should not do this and why it's better for them. And it just might be better in the long run.
Yes, I agree. It's just to find a balance. Like you said, be friends with your child, but also have strict rules that they know they cannot break. I mean, maybe, for example, you have a 5-year-old that, yes, talk to me, whatever it is you want to say, you can come and talk to me. But if mommy is sitting with a friend, conversing, you don't walk up and just interrupt her. These are just this is just a little example. So yes, you just have to find the balance between, being strict and being relaxed. It was easier for me. I would say it was easier for me because my parents kind of understood how that works. But when it comes to like the sex education you brought up briefly, yes, my mom also made me feel once they touch you, But what the conversation she had with me was about the hygienic part of, senior. But that's what happens when or how a lady gets pregnant. I didn't have the full knowledge of that. But I want to ask one last question before we round up. And this is because I know someone that does this. Being nude in front of her son. Her son is 11. And he still sees her naked. At least here. So what's up with that? Is that okay?
Well, for me, the way that I'm beginning to understand parenting is one shoe doesn't fit everybody, or one size does not fit all.
Yes.
Because I can parent my kids in a certain way, and it works out well for them. And then I tell you, do the same thing, and it just backfires. So now, this friend of yours that is still being nude before her son, the son can still grow up and be respectful of women and still be respectful. And in fact, maybe adore nudity, even at that, in the sense that, okay, as an art, woman as an art, fine and all of that.
Yeah.
I get it. But you as a parent understand yourself, understand the society that we live in.
Yes.
Be forward thinking. Be progressive in your thinking, in your exposure. What should I engage in? What shouldn't I? For me, I wouldn't do that. 11-year-old, you're a man in my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. My little cousin Richmond, he's 13, right? We talk, we gist and all of that. So I remember this particular time, he came back from school. He was very affectionate, always kissing my arms and kissing my hair. I'm like, what's going on? Tell me what's happening in school. And he's like, no, he's just being affectionate. And I actually really did understand it. I'm like, okay, I get it, but tone it down
a little bit, yes.
So at the end of the day, it's not one size fits all, but be progressive. Understand the times we're in. Understand how to communicate with your children.
Yeah.
So
Is that something you subscribe to?
Yes, and be observant because your kids change. Maybe at 11 it's not a big deal, but he may grow up or might see things outside that starts making her nudity become a big deal.
Yeah.
So she should know when to start and when to stop. I think there's just limits. Know your limits. Understand your child. Be observant. I think that's very much it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I'm against nudity at that age. I mean, he has started feeling things. I believe at 11 you start feeling things. So he's too old to still be saying such, in my own opinion. But like you said, doesn't fit all. Yes. So this has brought us to the end of this conversation. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section. We would love to hear from you, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye.